Welcome back to the Oracle section of today's episode of 1320 Time Stream. Okay, well here we got it. Got our center energy, the resonant warrior, helping power energy, the resonant knight, guiding the resonant star, challenging power, the resonant world bridger, and hidden power, the resonant serpent. So the first thing of note today is that every single thing is the resonant tone. 7 plus 7 is 14. What is the opposite of the neck and spine? The neck and spine. It has no opposing force. It is directly centered. So every day today is going to be 7. And all the breaths today are going to be focused through the neck and spine energy. Just getting prepared for that. So our helping power today, right? Everything is about channeling. Everything is about attunement. So let us channel and attune to that dream. Let us channel and attune that darker, hidden, I like how that challenge and helping power kind of energy, one is death, one is the dream, or like the waking dreamer, also like the unconscious, it symbolifies, right? And in some way, the world bridger represents the journey into the unconscious, and like the warrior is representing the probing through questions and that kind of sword wielding, searching for truth into the darkness, the shadow, or the unconscious to bring about the known, things of this nature. And so it's obviously a very defined helping power that the knight, which can be that more shadowy aspect of self, that more aloof aspect of self, that warrior is going into that. Right? So we can really go into that, can attune ourselves to those different nuances, look a little deeper into our shadow side today. I find it actually really nice that we have the world bridger energy left, night energy right, and the star on top, because the star really exemplifies that more luminous, creative, and elegant aspect, right? While the challenging and hidden and helping powers, respectively, are like our journey into the unknown, our journey into the darkness. So I find that really appropriate. And if we just kind of go back to yesterday, look at that. We have the antipode and occult energies swapping. And interestingly enough, the day before that, we had the analog and antipode energies swapping. And so the serpent was in the helping power, next day it was in the challenging power, and today it is in the hidden power. And yesterday in the hidden power was the world bridger, then it was in the challenging power, and tomorrow, no, not present. Look at that. So the serpent has really been with us here for a little bit. It started as our aid, then it was our challenge, and now it's kind of like hidden. And I'm just going to jump to it really quickly, even though it's not exactly the rotation that I usually do. And you take a look at that serpent, and you take a look directly above it at the warrior, and that kind of like squiggly, almost like semi-uncoiling kundalini energy kind of symbol, and it really makes sense, right? Is that you have this kind of like death, transformation, dark level energy. You have this kind of like dreamer, sleeper, potentially unconscious darkness energy. You have this star at the top, the process of uncoiling in the middle, and that which is coiled, which is the sexual energy at the base. And so it's like the shadows are our platforms that could be representing our blockages, and the divine serpent energy is moving up the central column. I find this deeply profound today because the fact that it is the resonant warrior. And the resonant is that channel, it's that open column, and actually really represents that particular thing that we're talking about right now. It really represents that neck and spine energy. It represents that chakras energy, the energy of prana moving up and down that central column. So I like this. I like this a lot. It's very definitive to how energy can move today. So yeah, we're coming up into that, guiding energy today, that the star, the light in the darkness, right? Is that very much like the relationship with the warrior to the knight is like, okay, cool. I see some unknown. I see some challenge. I see some, not surenesses, maybe insecurities, maybe even self-doubts, maybe self-hate, self-loathing. There could be some other darker things in there today. And that resonant tone, it's channeling. You're kind of tuning with it. It's easy to maybe even get lost in. Just gonna throw that out there. And coming into that above energy, it's almost like the transformation of that shadow energy becomes the star. There becomes to be, with those questions, with that intelligence, there can become a light by moving that energy, especially that sexual energy, really having that sexual energy start beginning touch more than just the sexual centers. Now that's good too. Don't get me wrong. It's always a good time to share pleasure with self. This is a very healthy thing, and I'd like a moment to really exemplify that is one of the great healings we're doing, especially in really connecting and healing the feminine within us, healing the inner woman in us, or just the women that we are, is to be able to positively reclaim our sexual energy. And a lot of what I talk about in these readings that have to do with the serpent energy or the seed energy will touch upon that, more so in the serpent energy. Now, I don't want any of you to ever think that self-pleasure or pleasure with another is bad in any way. The only thing that I would ever warn about with another is having energy tangles, energy ties. In fact, moving one's sexual energy, beginning to have that physical explorative connection with one's sexual energy is one of the aspects on being able to let it move. Right? And so then we can start coming to the higher aspect, which I feel the star exemplifies today, which is like the moving of the sexual energy upward. If you're the kind of person who wants to begin maybe even self-pleasuring and then come into a space where you're like, cool, well, there's no goal. I don't have to go to the place where I need to have an orgasm. I can excite myself in this way and then begin moving, breathing my energy up into those different spaces. Let me illuminate, let me ignite that star energy. Watch what happens to your life if that sexual energy is in it. If you're, almost an experiment, maybe do that, excite yourself in whatever way feels appropriate and natural. Maybe this will actually bring about that analog, a little bit darker. Maybe there's insecurities, maybe there's negativity projections, maybe there's judgments around that. Maybe there's shaming, maybe there's wronging. That the warrior can help us, bring to that challenging power and transform and dissolve. Maybe there's some death cycles that some of those patterns and imprints have to go through. As we bring that to the light, as we claim that sovereignty, things of that nature. So I would, recommend going into yourself and in turning yourself on, in this way, and maybe meeting life. Don't necessarily, attempt to reach orgasm. Find that self-discipline, find that world where you can go into the heightened energy and then kind of come into life. Do some breath meditation, breathe it into all the different parts of your body, and watch what happens when you compress yourself. There's more synchronicity, there's more flow, there's more direct emotional capacity, emotional communication, telepathy. Right? You can think of the whole dolphin thing around dolphins being these highly sexual, sensual, telepathic creatures. Right? And so it's the availability of your sexual energy actually increases the interdimensional and cosmic receptivity of your natural energy centers, of your natural body. And so this is why it's very healthy, because without the movement of that energy, your energy systems are in fact dry. And if your energy systems are dry, then you do not have the capacity to connect on any of these levels. And so sexual energy and the movement of your sexual energy, the reclamation of your sexual energy, is a key element in cultivation on the so-called spiritual path, or the path of healing, or the path of self-growth. It's vital. It's definitely necessary and required. So that feels like a good star energy transmission there. Just channel that light, channel that elegance, that flow, that movement. And sexual energy is very bright. It's very shining. It is like a light in the darkness. And it sleeps in those dark wells, We have our world bridger, right? Bridging the worlds. It's like the wakefulness, the unwaking, the living, the dying. the causal, the imaginal, the potential, the manifest, all these things. And, very accurately, the challenge of the warrior is death. And very classic, if we go back to the warrior, the 1,000 orcs or whatever, great warriors battling them, consistently challenged by death. There's always you could get an arrow through the head. You could be, eviscerated by a sword. And so that challenge is the great wisdom of the warrior, is always pitting themselves against death. And that's what really defines them in their epic mythology, is their feats and how they engage death. And so death really brings about the power, death, facing that darkness. This pattern right here, as we're being shown, shows us very clearly. Like, if you look at the analog power, the knight, if you look at the challenging power, death, essentially, and if you look at the hidden power, the serpent, those three energies are present in every single kind of mythological story of any classic warrior ever. The serpent represents the basic survival instinct, as well as how the sexual energy channels through movement and form and skill and discipline, right? The darkness, the unknown, fighting odds, fighting that darkness, and as well the death energy, they're all very defined in there, they're all very appropriately placed kind of thing. And so, yeah, it could be challenging to end situations, to transform through situations today. Things of that nature. And, coming down to the serpent energy, today it felt like it all just kind of communicated itself simultaneously as a singular presence of daily energy. And then we have that serpent energy, which, I think I talked about that kind of a lot there. And we do have that survival aspect. We have that, sometimes it's also just time to rest up and nurture. And it's like the serpent can be like a bit groany, I think, sometimes. And it's time to check in, on our flow of energy. Like maybe the shadow aspect of the serpent in some respects is like not having a really good flow of that energy. Some people could see it as sexuality, some people can see it as sensuality, some people could just see it as the motion of chi and things like that, and how it connects to that central circuit. So, I think I'm going to leave us there with the oracle energy for today. And stay tuned for the meditation section of today's episode of 1320 Titan Stream.